The dawn broke across a modest town that appeared serene, unremarkable, and unburdened by the depths of human anguish. However, concealed within this tranquility lay a tempest ready to unleash itself. On this pleasant Saturday morning, with pristine white roses meticulously positioned along the entrance of an elegant hotel and a gleaming black limousine stationed nearby, a sequence of events was about to commence that neither guest, groom, nor bride could have ever anticipated. While matrimonial ceremonies typically embody celebrations of devotion, kinship, and new chapters, this particular occasion bore the oppressive burden of arrogance, malice, and a calculated scheme for degradation. The bridegroom had extended his invitation not from generosity, but from malevolence. He desired his former spouse, once the woman who had given everything for his sake only to be abandoned with nothing, to witness what he proclaimed as his genuine fairy tale ending. He wished for her to experience diminishment, abandonment, and worthlessness. However, what he never anticipated was her arrival, not shattered, not sobbing, not fragile, but more resilient than before, emerging from a limousine accompanied by 3 young girls at her side, daughters he had deserted, and whose grace, poise, and radiance would render everyone speechless with astonishment. If you embrace compassion, fresh opportunities, and narratives where fate reverses a tide on malevolence, then please pause to appreciate this video, distribute among others, and join Untold Stories 0.4. Additionally, remember to share your thoughts below. We cherish receiving your perspectives and emotions regarding these compelling narratives. The tale commences with Emma, a woman whose tender soul and industrious character frequently render her overlooked in a society that solely celebrated affluence and position. She had developed feelings for Daniel during their youth, and despite the counsel of her companions and relatives, she invested her sole vitality and even her modest earnings into constructing a destiny alongside him. Daniel originated from a prosperous household, yet he aspired to ascend further. Throughout the years, Emma championed his aspirations, laboring additional hours as a server, undertaking custodial positions during nighttime hours, and even foregoing meals to ensure he possessed everything necessary to pursue his ambitions. She had greater faith in him than she maintained in herself. However, when achievement eventually graced his grasp, Daniel transformed. Wealth occupied the voids where affection previously resided. Rather than treasuring Emma for her devotion and selflessness, he commenced viewing her as an obstacle, a memento of his former hardships. The union became frigid, and eventually, without considerable forewarning, Daniel initiated divorce proceedings. He abandoned Emma with merely an aging automobile that scarcely functioned and a modest apartment whose lease she could scarcely afford. Emma, devastated yet resolute, learned merely weeks following the divorce that she was expecting not a single child, but triplets. Terror nearly overwhelmed her. How could she nurture 3 children independently without funds, without a companion, and without assistance? Nevertheless, something within her transformed that moment. She recognized that although she had been discarded, she remained formidable. She was destined to become a mother, and those precious lives relying upon her would provide her with purpose to battle more fiercely than she ever had previously. Thus commenced her years of adversity, days occupied balancing dual occupations, evenings spent comforting 3 weeping babies in her embrace, and innumerable instances of depletion where she longed to surrender, yet persevered because her daughters required her. Meanwhile, Daniel ascended the hierarchy of society, mingling within circles of prosperity and distinction. He never once inquired about Emma or the children. To his associates, he discussed his liberation from that impoverished woman, portraying himself as a casualty of marriage that restricted his potential. When he encountered Sophia, a young woman from an affluent family, his pride flourished. This represented his opportunity to demonstrate he had advanced, to prove to society that he had finally reached his deserved position. As the wedding ceremony drew near, Daniel, motivated by a combination of conceit and resentment, chose to invite Emma. He envisioned her appearing in inexpensive garments, perhaps borrowing funds for transportation, observing from the periphery while he was a woman of genuine value. In his imagination, this would complete Emma's disgrace. She would witness his elevation and her own decline. Yet Emma had been forging her own journey silently, distant from Daniel's superficial realm. She had nurtured her daughters with affection, guidance, and conviction, instilling within them not merely proper conduct, but the bravery to trust in themselves. Despite their monetary challenges, Emma secured employment at a modest design firm. Her innate artistry soon garnered recognition, and following years of persistence, she established her own boutique. What began as a small corner establishment soon developed into a renowned business within the community. She didn't display her achievements ostentatiously, yet she no longer existed in the shadows of her history. Her daughters, now 6 years of age, were lovely, intelligent, and vibrant. Her greatest accomplishment, when the wedding invitation materialized, Emma nearly discarded it. However, she then reflected upon the years of degradation she had endured, Daniel's abandonment of them, and the murmurs of individuals who once sympathized with her. This wasn't about vengeance, but about self-respect. She wished to demonstrate to her daughters that nobody possessed the authority to determine their value. Therefore, with tranquil determination, she resolved to attend. The wedding morning arrived bright and luminous. Guests appeared in sophisticated vehicles, adorned in magnificent dresses and costly suits. Daniel stood proudly in his ivory tuxedo, absorbing the praise of his companions. Sophia, radiant in her tailored gown, beamed at the cameras, capturing moments around her. Everything was proceeding flawlessly until the sound of another limousine arriving at the entrance captured attention. Individuals murmured, "Who might that be?" Gradually, the driver emerged and opened the door. 3 young girls appeared dressed in coordinated yellow gowns, clasping hands, their ringlets dancing as they walked assuredly along the crimson carpet. Following them, Emma materialized in an emerald dress, her silhouette graceful, her countenance luminous, her gaze serene yet powerful. Astonished exclamations filled the atmosphere. Whispers cascaded through the assembly. Daniel's smugness vanished immediately. Sophia's expression became rigid, and Emma, grasping her daughter's hands, advanced with composure, her bearing commanding greater notice than the bride herself. The groom's complexion became ashen, and for the first occasion in years, remorse appeared in his eyes. Yet his arrogance refused to allow him to waver. "What brings her here?" People overheard him whisper, though the response was evident. Emma was no longer the devastated, forsaken woman he once recognized. She was a parent, a warrior, and a woman who had emerged from destruction with elegance. The attendees who had previously heard Daniel's harsh narratives about her could now perceive the reality. They witnessed the reverence in how her daughters gazed up at her, the manner she conducted herself without bitterness, and the subtle strength that made her radiate more brilliantly than any precious stone in the venue. Sophia fidgeted uneasily, realizing that the comparison developing in people's minds was not favorable to her. Emma required neither diamonds nor riches to illuminate her dignity, her perseverance, and the tangible evidence of her journey. Those 3 young girls were more potent than any treasure. The ceremony proceeded, yet the atmosphere had shifted. Murmurs accompanied Emma wherever she traveled. Some guests discreetly offered congratulations. Others apologized through their expressions for ever accepting Daniel's deceptions. The triplets giggled, their purity touching hearts, and Emma simply smiled, understanding she had nothing remaining to validate. Daniel had attempted to shame her, yet instead he had exposed his own hollowness. Emma's presence wasn't about retaliation. It served as testimony to survival, love, and metamorphosis. She endured the vows without resentment, never once attempting to sabotage the occasion, because she didn't need to. Her mere existence was sufficient to reframe the narrative. By evening's conclusion, the singular detail people recalled most wasn't Sophia's gown, the floral arrangements, or even the promises. It was the moment Emma arrived in that limousine, holding the hands of 3 beautiful daughters, her head raised high. The photograph preserved that instant of astonishment on Daniel's face, the wonder in the crowd, and the brilliance of a woman who had transcended cruelty. In the subsequent days, whispers circulated throughout the community. Daniel's arrogance was revealed, and people began questioning his integrity. Meanwhile, Emma's boutique flourished even more. Patrons arrived not merely for her creations, but because of the narrative behind her strength. She became a quiet inspiration, evidence that sometimes the finest revenge is prospering with dignity, without ever needing to utter a single word. Thus, the woman who was once deserted and humiliated discovered herself more respected and celebrated than ever. Not because she possessed wealth, not because she sought revenge, but because she had traversed through flames and emerged brilliant. Her daughters matured understanding their mother's worth, not their father's cruelty. Emma herself finally discovered tranquility. She comprehended that suffering had molded her but not determined her identity, and that love, not wealth, was a genuine standard of success. If this narrative moved your heart, please pause to appreciate this video, share with others, and join Untold Stories 0.4. Your support enables us to continue presenting stories that remind the world about the strength of compassion, resilience, and dignity. Before we conclude, we would appreciate your comments below. What would you have done in Emma's position? Because sometimes your thoughts and reflections can inspire someone else experiencing the same struggle.